Hello everyone, this is Dan Davies from AbleLink Smart Living Technologies with another 4-minute tutorial. Today we're going to look at setting up an email account in the Smart Living email program, one of the programs that's part of the Smart Living suite. Let's get started. So I'm going to launch my Smart Living desktop application, the main program in the Smart Living suite, and we're going to add an email button to Han Solo's desktop here. So there's two ways to do that. If I right click over the desktop, select add buttons from the library here. The email button is one of the buttons that's in the library that's distributed when you get the program. So I'll click on my desktop to open up all the different folders here, and I'm going to go into the basic buttons category. I can double click it or click the plus sign, and you see my email is one of the buttons here. So I'll click that, and now this blue button here says copy to desktop, and I'll click on that. Now I use the back button, the yellow back button here, to get back to the desktop, and you see we have a new email button on the desktop. That's one way to put a button on the desktop. Let me show you the other way to put an email button on the desktop. I'm going to right click over this one and delete it first. We're back to a clean desktop. Now I'll right click, and this time I'm going to select new button. Okay, so this is our button manager. I'm going to select social. I'll give it a name. Type that in the text box there. I'll just stay with the default image here for the icon, and I'll hit save. So that's the other way to create an email button. Now once I launch this button by clicking it, it'll start the Smart Living email program. The way you go into settings is down here in the bottom left. You can either double click or type the word setup. One special feature, you first put an email program on an individual's desktop and nothing's been set up. If you click the Get Mail button, the program recognizes the settings need to be set up, and it'll actually take you right into the setup area where you can enter the settings. I'm going to hit the back button here and show that's the same place we go to when we type the word setup down here in the bottom left. We just have to click over onto the right tab, email account settings, and this is where we set up the email. So limited to these, you can use any email program with this. But this is set up so that if you were to use, say, a Yahoo Mail account, you can just click the Yahoo button and it'll set up the receive mail server and the send mail server settings, as well as the port for you. Same thing with Microsoft Mail. In this case, I'm going to set up a Gmail account, so I click on Gmail. After you select the right email provider or put in the information for the provider that you're going to use, down here is where you put in the individual's name. So I'm going to put in Han Solo here. Only I spelled it wrong. Nice. And we've got Han. All right, his email address I'm going to be using is smartliving.abelink@gmail.com. In many cases, email programs have the same login for the account as they do for the email address. If that's the case, you can either click this button over here that says copy to account login, and you see how that did that down here. Let me delete that and show you the other way. Is simply if you double click in this text box down here, that does the same thing. And then we enter in the email password. If you want the text to be shown so you see the password, you can just click show password, or by default it uses the password characters. So that's all it takes to set up the email account. When I click the back button here, now this email account is ready to receive email. So that's how you set up email in the Smart Living email program. Thanks a lot.